You are officially a narwhal. Congratulations, you are the unicorn of the sea. How cute. Except for one small detail. That thing on your face isn't a horn, it's a tooth. A left canine tooth that malfunctioned, grew crooked, and pierced through your upper lip, reaching up to 3 meters in length. Your life begins with an identity crisis and a chronic toothache the size of a spear. Your scientific name, Monodon monoceros, is fancy Greek for one tooth, one horn. Half right, half the biggest fake news in biology. Even scientists fell for the unicorn tale. Your prehistoric origin. You belong to the Monodontidae family from about 11 million years ago. It's the same family as the beluga whale, your rich, smiling cousin without a spike in her face. The beluga is proof that it was possible to be a normal Arctic whale. But your lineage decided to go all in on this brilliant idea of the giant tooth. It was your evolutionary all-in, a bet that trapped you forever. And your homeland? The most welcoming place on the planet, the Arctic Ocean. The freezing waters around Greenland, Canada, Norway, Russia. Your home is a giant dark freezer full of things that want to eat you. Welcome to the world. Try not to freeze in the first minute. And how does your life begin in this aquatic freezer? In a warm maternity ward, with dolphins singing lullabies? Of course not. Your mother gives birth to you in the freezing water after a 14-month pregnancy. Yes, nearly a year and a half, and you're spat out tail first so you don't drown head first. Your first contact with the world is a thermal shock that would make a penguin cry. You're born weighing about 80 kilograms, looking like a clumsy, useless gray sausage. Your lungs have never breathed. Your mother has to push you to the surface for that first gulp of air, which feels more like an icy stab. Family. Father. Missing in action, or more likely, off mating with someone else. Siblings. You're usually born alone. Your only reference is your mother. And she's not exactly affectionate. She's practical. She teaches you the basics, how to breathe without freezing, how to find the hole in the ice, how to dodge the hungry orca. Your childhood isn't playtime, it's pure survival. You nurse on super fatty milk to build a blubber layer and avoid becoming a popsicle, and you stick close to your mother for almost 2 years because without her, you wouldn't last a day. Infant mortality is sky high. Many of your classmates become polar bear food or get lost in the ice. Your life starts in the negative, fighting an environment that has hated you from the very first second. Well, we've arrived at the main point of your disgrace, the thing that makes you famous, your unicorn horn. How beautiful, how magical. Except no, as we've said, it's not a horn, it's a tooth. A left canine tooth that, if you're male most of the time, simply went crazy. It refuses to stop growing. It pierces your upper lip and continues straight, or rather, in a counterclockwise spiral, because even in this you have to be weird, until it becomes a spear up to 3 meters long. The right tooth usually stays quiet inside the gum, like a silent reminder of the normal life you could have had. This dental lance can weigh up to 10 kilograms. Imagine carrying a weight like that stuck to your face forever. Swimming, eating, even saying hi to another narwhal. Everything becomes more complicated with this contraption in front. It's a constant burden on your skull and neck. But the size isn't the worst part. The worst part is how this tooth is made backwards. You ask, what do you mean backwards? Well, the answer is simple and horrifying. Normal teeth have a hard shell on the outside, the enamel, to protect the sensitive inside. Yours? The outside is porous, full of microscopic holes, and the hard part is on the inside. It's like building a house with the drywall on the outside and the bricks on the inside. What a genius idea. These millions of tiny holes on the surface of your horn aren't just a detail. They are channels, tiny tubes that go directly from the icy Arctic water right to the center of your tooth. And what's in the center? The nerve. Millions of nerve endings connected directly to your brain. Think about that. You have a giant nerve the size of a fishing rod exposed, submerged 24 hours a day in near-freezing salt water. This isn't a magical horn. It's the biggest chronic toothache in the universe. This bizarre structure turns your tooth into a super sensor. You feel everything. The slightest change in water temperature, in pressure as you dive, even the salt content. Everything becomes a direct signal to your brain. You literally taste the water with your face. Magical, isn't it? A constant sensory overload. Imagine living in a world where you feel every draft, every temperature change like a shock. There's no off button. It's 24/7 neurological torture. And in a world that's changing fast, with melting ice and pollution arriving, this super sensor becomes your greatest weakness. Okay, And your life isn't a leisurely stroll in shallow waters. Your daily routine is to dive deep. You are one of the planet's deepest divers. We're talking about routinely going to 1,000 meters depth. 1,500 meters is deeper than 5 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of each other. A round trip of 3 kilometers vertically, several times a day. And what is that journey like? Hell, the pressure down there is crushing, more than 150 times normal pressure. It would crush a weaker submarine. To survive, your body does bizarre things. Your lungs collapse completely. Your heart slows to almost a stop. Blood only goes to your brain and heart. The rest can go hang. You basically enter a controlled shutdown mode with every dive. This descent into total darkness can last more than 25 minutes on a single breath. A quarter of an hour trapped at the bottom of the sea, crushed by pressure, with no light, trying to find something to eat using only sound and echolocation. And what is the grand prize for risking your life in this pressure cooker inferno of darkness? A treasure? A giant squid? An epic battle against a deep-sea monster? Not a chance. Your reward for this superhuman effort is a boring fish. Seriously, your main diet is basically Greenland halibut and Arctic cod. Slow bottom-dwelling fish, probably as bored as you are. Sometimes some shrimp or squid for variety. You face death by crushing and asphyxiation multiple times a day to eat the equivalent of a frozen hake fillet. What a prize. And the worst part is, you have no choice. Remember that failed evolutionary bet of yours? Your body is super specialized to live in this bizarre niche. Well, you're trapped. Your entire body was made for these suicidal dives after these specific fish. You can't just decide to eat sardines at the surface. It doesn't work. This leaves you in a ridiculously fragile situation. What if the halibut decide to move because of global warming? What if the cod disappear? You're completely screwed. Your greatest skill, diving incredibly deep, is also the chain that binds you to a limited and threatened menu. What great career planning, evolution. Despite your unfriendly face, literally because of the tooth, you are actually a social creature. You live in groups called pods that can range from a few individuals to dozens of narwhals. But how do you communicate in this dark, frozen world, especially with this spear getting in the way? With sound. Your world is almost entirely made of sounds. Vision is almost useless in the Arctic darkness or the depths where you hunt. So you live in a constant symphony of clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls. The clicks are your sonar, your biological GPS to avoid hitting the ice and to find your boring lunch. The whistles and calls are your conversation to keep the group together, to find a mate in that brief moment you think about it, and to shout danger when an orca appears. You have a complex vocabulary of regional dialects. You're practically the tenors and sopranos of the ice. Except there's one small, or rather gigantic problem. That 3-meter spear on your face. How do you approach another narwhal without accidentally poking its eye out? How do you show affection or anger without risking breaking your most precious and painful possession? Your social life is a minefield of dental etiquette. And how do you deal with this dental etiquette? With a bizarre ritual called tusking. Sometimes you males gather at the surface, lift your spears out of the water, and gently rub them together, crossing horns and grazing against each other. What for? Nobody knows for sure. It's a weird handshake, a way of measuring strength without getting into a fight, which would be disastrous with these lances. Or the craziest theory, are you exchanging information through the exposed nerves? Like touching teeth to download data about water salinity. Whatever the reason, it's the equivalent of greeting someone by rubbing an inflamed, sensitive tooth against theirs. It requires a delicacy that seems impossible for such a large animal. But this whole delicate world of sound and dental fencing is being invaded. Your home, the silent Arctic, is becoming a noisy highway. Whose fault? Ours, of course. The ice is melting. Thanks, global warming. And this opens the way for ships, icebreakers, research vessels. And all this traffic makes an infernal noise underwater. This noise isn't just annoying for you, it's a mortal threat. Remember, your world is made of sound. The noise from ships is like an acoustic fog. It covers everything, preventing you from hearing your friends, your food, and worse, the orca coming to turn you into sashimi. Imagine trying to find your dinner or escape a killer at a heavy metal concert in the dark. Your most important survival tool becomes a source of panic and confusion. The same human progress that melts your home also makes you deaf and lost in it. Your life in the Arctic isn't just cold and darkness, It's a constant game of don't get eaten. And the number one player in this game is the orca, your arch nemesis. She's not just big and strong, she's smart. Really smart. They hunt in groups like a well-organized mafia gang. They surround you, tire you out, separate mothers from calves, your weak point, and then, well, you know. Their presence in the summer turns your resting areas into Narwhal self-service restaurants. And guess what? With the ice melting, they can reach further and stay longer in your backyard. Great. If the orca is the mafioso, the polar bear is the ninja. He doesn't chase you. He waits. Stays there motionless, white as the ice, next to a breathing hole. For hours. Immobile. You, desperate for air after a 20-minute dive, come up for a breath and wham. A bear's paw yanks you out of the water. It's death from above, at the one place you need to go. And down below, in the dark, you think you're safe? Down there, in the eternal darkness where you hunt your boring fish, another monster is waiting. The Greenland shark. A prehistoric creature, slow, almost blind, that can live 400 years. He's like the Methuselah of sharks. And guess what they found in its stomach? Narwhal remains. He doesn't chase you. He ambushes you, emerges from the darkness like a slow ghost, and snatches you while you're distracted trying to hear a cod with your sonar. What a dignified end, becoming food for a geriatric shark. But perhaps your worst enemy isn't an animal. It's the ice itself. Your home, your protection, your tomb. Sometimes the weather changes suddenly. The wind pushes the ice, and that open area where you were breathing closes quickly. You and dozens, maybe hundreds, of other narwhals get trapped. Trapped in a single little air hole. It's called savsat. Panic sets in. Everyone trying to breathe at the same time. You get hurt, you get tired, and the hole keeps freezing, until it closes completely. Or you simply die of exhaustion and drown, surrounded by your panicking relatives. It's death by claustrophobia on a giant scale, a perfect natural trap. And of course, there's us, the humans. For millennia, the Inuit hunted you sustainably. Part of their culture, okay? But the modern threat is different. We don't even need to hunt you directly to kill you. We just need to exist. Our progress, our pollution, our global warming is melting your world literally and pitting all your other enemies against you. What a lovely farewell gift. Remember that giant, crooked, painful tooth of yours? Well, it not only messes up your life, it messed up your image forever. Because of it, you became a unicorn. Yes, during the Middle Ages, back in Europe, nobody had any idea what you were. But occasionally, one of your broken teeth would wash ashore or be brought back by explorers. And what did the Europeans, who had never seen a whale with a toothache, think? My God, it's the horn of the unicorn, that pure, magical creature that only appeared to virgin maidens. Finally, they had proof. And what did they do with this proof? Sold it for a fortune, of course. Your tooth became the most coveted item in Europe. Kings and queens paid fortunes for it, thinking it cured poison, guaranteed virility, or purified water. Your tooth became medicine, an amulet, an art object. Everything except what it really was, a giant, problematic tooth from a weird whale. Your pain became a luxury item. What an honor. This fame, based on medieval fake news, continued. Even after science discovered you were just a whale with a giant dental problem, the unicorn of the sea image stuck, and it stuck hard. Today, you're no longer an expensive remedy. You're a pop icon. Your image, with the giant tooth, of course, is on everything. T-shirts, mugs, plush toys, cartoons, Instagram filters. You've become the cute symbol of the mysterious Arctic, the modern unicorn. And what's the problem with that? The problem is that this fame is totally based on ignorance. People love you for the wrong image. They love the magical horn, but they have no idea of the pain, the sensory overload, the burden that this tooth really is for you. They love the idea of the unicorn swimming happily in the ice, but they ignore the brutal reality of your life. The suicidal dives, the boring food, the constant fear of orcas, the panic of being trapped in the ice. Your fame doesn't help you. It turns you into a caricature, a cute poster to decorate a bedroom. People fall in love with the myth, the cute unicorn, and forget, or never even know, the real whale suffering behind the image. Your most painful characteristic became your biggest commercial appeal. What a great trade-off. Being loved for the wrong reason is perhaps the loneliest form of fame there is. The years passed in that giant freezer called the Arctic. Miraculously, you survived the orcas, the bears, the treacherous ice, and your own chronic toothache. You are an old narwhal. What does that mean? It means a life of extreme hardship has left deep marks. Your body, once an efficient though tortured diving machine, is starting to fail. Those dives to 1,500 meters? Maybe now you can only manage 1,000 with great effort. Holding your breath for 25 minutes? Now 15 minutes leaves you at your limit. Your ability to withstand pressure and lack of oxygen is diminishing. Hunting that boring fish at the bottom of the sea has become even more difficult and dangerous. And your tooth, your iconic lance, after decades of being dragged through the ice, perhaps used in a few clumsy fencing matches, is worn down, maybe with a broken tip, which would be a source of infernal pain and a constant risk of infection for that exposed nerve. Carrying that weight on your face has become even more tiresome. Your tool of charm has become a painful burden. Your senses, especially your clicking sonar, are perhaps no longer as precise. Finding food in that dark world has become harder. Finding holes in the ice to breathe has become riskier. This weakness makes you a target for everything. The orcas you might have once outrun with a faster dive now catch you more easily. That polar bear waiting at the ice hole, your slow, gasping ascent delivers you on a platter. And worst of all, the ice itself, which was always both friend and enemy, is now just an enemy. That savsat, the ice entrapment. If before you had the strength to fight for a spot at the hole, now you're the first to be pushed out, the first to run out of air. Your experience is worthless against the brute force of the younger ones in a panic. You become a burden to the pod. Maybe they wait for you a little, but life in the Arctic is too cruel for charity. If you can't keep up with the migration pace, if you can't dive deep enough to find food, you get left behind. Alone. Your life, which began alone with your mother, ends alone on the ice. Your only companions are the biting cold, the growing hunger, and the certainty that the end is near. You drag yourself to one last breathing hole, your body heavy, your tooth aching, just waiting for the final darkness to arrive. Whether by the claws of the ice, the jaws of a predator, or simply your tired body giving up for good. You are old, tired, alone. Your body aches, your tooth is throbbing more than usual. Hunger pinches. You are near the edge of the ice, looking for a hole to breathe, and maybe some easy food near the surface. Diving deep is no longer an option. Then your super sensor, your exposed tooth, picks up something strange. A different vibration in the water, a metallic taste. Curiosity, your only distraction in this gray, frozen world. You approach slowly. It's something stuck in the ice, half submerged. Maybe a piece of an old ship, Roman trash, hard to tell. It seems to have some algae stuck to it, maybe some little fish hiding nearby. Food. You try to use your facial lance, not to attack, but to poke, to investigate, maybe to loosen some algae, scare a fish out. You slide the tip of your tooth into a crack in that strange thing and pull. But it doesn't come loose. You try again. Nothing. It's stuck. Your tooth, your face is stuck. Your facial spear, your identity, your curse, is jammed in a piece of frozen human trash. Probably a fishing net. What irony. Panic. You pull with force. Pain. That 3-meter exposed nerve screams. You try to twist your body, use your weight, but you are old, weak, and stuck by the face. There's no orca, no polar bear, no savsat. It's just you, your agonizing toothache, and a piece of old fishing net or whatever. You stay there stuck, thrashing uselessly. Every tug is torture. The icy water seems to burn even more on the exposed tip of your jammed nerve. Eventually, exhaustion wins. You can no longer fight. You can no longer surface properly to breathe. Your death is not an epic hunt, not a battle against the elements. It's a pathetic end, stuck by the nose, or rather, by the tooth, on a piece of trash, probably dying by drowning very slowly, or from pure pain and exhaustion. The unicorn of the sea dies, snagged like an idiotic fish on a hook it bit itself. What an ungrateful little life you've had. Born in the ice, living with chronic toothache, diving into hell for bad food, being hunted by everything, becoming a poster child for being misunderstood, and dying snagged on a piece of trash. Your only magic was enduring so much suffering.